This is the Be One Change One podcast, where our mission is to help listeners define values, practice integrity, and inspire change.
Our vision is to mentor men and empower them to achieve more by taking responsibility for shaping their own lives.
He's CAS, an evolving man who has been shaped by adversity and continues to grow through his imperfections.
And he's Roscoe, an imperfect work in progress that tries to suck less every day.
Between us, we have over 40 years of Air Force fighter pilot experience with countless hours as trainers, instructors, and mentors.
Join us and learn to take responsibility for your own life as we dive into subjects from leadership to resilience to vulnerability.
Be the one who changes their course. Be decisive, driven, and purposeful. Set the example for others. Lead. We wish we'd had this show when we were younger men.
Be the one.
Oh, well, that's your first mistake. That was famous last words. Roscoe, I'll let you lead. Yeah, that never ends well, I'm sure.
That did well. Dude, I saw what you threw on Facebook and Instagram today about us being in the top 5%. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. That was, I think you and I had looked that up. It's a little bit dated. Maybe we're higher now, but yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Be one, change one, just making an impact all over the place.
Yeah, it's
holy
super
shit.
Cool.
Top 5%. There's 3.4 million podcasts out there, and we're in the top 5% of them.
Right on.
So, yeah, growing, getting better. Thanks for all the support for all the listeners and all 5 of you.
So
and appreciate you sharing it and all that good stuff. So another remote episode. CAS is displaced. I got home, sitting in the comfort of the White House here. But CAS, where are you at? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm in St. Louis tonight. So
barf.
I'm in the middle of the country. Yeah. It's a short overnight.
Humidity and heat and.
Yeah, it was like 97 degrees and it's humid out there, man. And I do not do humidity well anymore after living in Phoenix. So
what's okay. Like the go-to food in St. Louis? Is it barbecue?
I have no idea. I don't know. It's kind of a smattering of things.
So, all right. I guess
like
Roscoe has it for now. So, let me know when you're back with me, brother. We lost you there for a second. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I had you the whole time, but I don't. The Wi-Fi in the hotel might be a little sketch.
Super 8s, man. They need to up their Wi-Fi game.
I'm telling you.
Well, let's knock this out and get her done, so you can go about your business, and Katie can get on about hers. And
okay,
real quick,
I don't want to get you any more trouble with Mama.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of normal. It's like playing golf, man. I spend so much time off of the fairway in trouble that I'm pretty good at getting out of it. So, always have a good 2-iron in your bag. That's my advice. I was cruising one of the socials the other day. I don't even remember which one it was, but I saw this thing come up, and I think, CAS, let me just read this list off, and then we can go through them one by one, because I think it'll help kind of frame what we're going to talk about. But I know we've covered we've covered topics similar to this, and the topic of this list, it says 8 truths I wish I knew sooner. And we kind of covered that when we talked about old people and some of their regrets and all that. But so here's the list. There's 8 of them. I'll read through them real quick, and then we can go back and hit them. Number 1, not all friendships are forever. Envy is a waste of energy. Partying is not a purpose. A career is not an identity. Either embrace change or embrace pain. Complacency is contagious. Mistakes are mandatory, and empathy is clarity. So, when I read through that, I was kind of like, yeah, this really hits a lot of the things that we talk about, but there's some things in there that I think we can get a little nuanced on. So what were your initial impressions?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Obviously it carries a lot of the themes that we've talked about. What I do like is in some respects, it uses different words than we've used on the podcast. So that may make it more relatable to some people, or to new listeners potentially. But yeah, I kind of felt the same way, that there probably is some nuance that we can pull out of that.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked about number 1, not all friendships are forever. And people come into your lives for a reason or a season or maybe both. And maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it's a way for you to get over an obstacle that you were facing. Maybe it's a bridge of a gap where you needed somebody in your life to confide in or whatever. But I think we've both had I know Katie and I have, you have these relationships that maybe it's a PCS cycle, like a 2 or 3 years, or maybe it's a phase of
Mm-hmm.
your life that you're going through where you rallied around this person. And, by the end of this, we'll bring this back to your circle of five, but not all friendships lasting forever. I think we both got pretty good examples of that one.
Yeah. And I think more importantly, something to stress for the listeners is, in fact, I was having a conversation with a gentleman just not too long ago that listens to the podcast, has really started to kind of dive into this work, doing self-inspection, defining personal values, and being honest with himself about where he is in life and the things that he needs to change personally. And it was interesting because he had a trip that he had taken with a bunch of friends. And, he realized on that trip that like he's different now. And these
Yeah.
people haven't really
Yeah.
shifted, and they were kind of throwing spears at him a little bit because, he didn't want to stay up until 2 o'clock every night drinking. And,
Hmm.
he didn't want to feel like shit the next day. He wanted to actually enjoy the fishing that they were going to go do or whatever the activity was
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it was really kind of challenging for him, but it was also a recognition too that, things shift. And we've talked about that before on the podcast. You may get
Yep.
to a point where as you start to do some of this work and you start to make changes in your life, the people that you've had around you, they have a choice to make too, right? They can support you in the direction that you're moving, or they may want to stay where they're at. And that's their choice to make, but you don't have to stay
That's
there
true.
with them. And so a lot of times I think when you go through the process of doing some of the stuff that we've talked about on the podcast, by default, you're going to end up shedding maybe some people in your life, as you start to do this work and figure those pieces out about yourself. But
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
don't look at that as a negative necessarily, right? Because there's also opportunity in that. And there's opportunity in the sense that you get to go find new people who maybe align with the things that you're trying to do, find new groups of friends, that will be supportive and that are moving in the same direction you are. And so it opens up opportunity as well. But
Well,
yeah,
in a case like what you're talking about in that example, that's an example of, you may have to cut from the herd and go do your own thing. And don't lose sight of the fact that it's okay to be sad about that sometimes. It's okay to mourn a lost relationship for whatever reason. If it was a dear friend that y'all just fell out of touch, or, maybe there was that whole emotional equity piece where, one of you is not putting into the relationship like the other is, and there's an imbalance there of give and take. Regardless of why the relationship dissolves, it's okay to kind of mourn that a little bit. And the memories that you make with that person, they're still there. You still have all that you can go back and kind of relive those quote unquote good old days if you want to go down that road. But that doesn't mean that you have to dwell there. Let's go back and sample it for a few minutes and then look ahead and go, you know what, I'm so better off for where I'm at and where I'm going now. I wish that those people would have come with me, but like you said, that's their choice, man.
when you don't necessarily have to cut ties and run either, right? And just go, boom, these people are out of my life. It can just kind of be a slow pull away because
No, it can just atrophy.
stay engaged in case. Yeah. And you may want to stay engaged with some of those people if they're important to you, because you may want to leave the door open for when they do get to a point in their life where they do want to change, you have the opportunity to have that conversation with them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, but it's true, man. I mean, I think most people are lucky if they have, one, two, maybe three people that they're really close
Yeah.
with. And I think most people are really lucky if you have, like one solid or two solid friends that you've had for a very
Yeah.
long time.
Do you
Because
think it's
relationships like
different
that they
for,
tend to be seasonal.
yeah. Do you think it's different for a person like, I'll use Katie as an example. She's kind of a social butterfly. She can walk into any room and instantly make friends with people and have a good time and have conversation versus somebody maybe more like yourself, who's a self-declared introvert. Did those lost relationships impact one or the other more, do you think?
I think they could definitely for the extrovert, because they tend to draw energy from those groups and those group
Yeah.
settings. Where an introvert, I think it's a little easier to move away, and to kind of isolate. That's a lot easier for me
Yeah.
than it probably is for Katie. But the other thing I wanted to point out too was, as men in general, I don't think we're very good about fostering relationships, or seeking out relationships when things like this happen in life,
Yeah.
or as you start to shift friend groups, being able to find people and solidify things. I think it takes us a little more time typically, because I don't think we're as relational. Um, Not all men. That's a generalization. I hate generalizations, but I did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
No,
it
I
can be
get
a
what you're
little more
saying.
difficult for guys in general too.
Yeah, and I think that can come back to a little bit of that vulnerability talk, and it's I don't think that we really open up and let people in as much. Just at least the males that I tend to hang out with, it's you're a little bit more guarded. An example would be a guy that's having a bad day, and you call him up, and you're like, "Hey, man, you need some help?" And he goes, "No, I'm fine. I got this." Like, dude, you clearly need help, man. You can't lift the engine yourself. I'll
Yeah.
I'll be over in a few minutes. So yeah, you're right, man. I think that
Yeah.
as males, we probably fall into that trap maybe a little bit more than females. And
Yeah.
we hate talking in absolutes like that and putting people in bins, but I mean, it's kind of true.
It is. Yeah, it is. I think we're typically a little more standoffish. It takes longer for us to let people in, and in some respects too. And this is some of the fears that I have for the younger generation is the self isolation that comes from social media and gaming and things like that.
Yeah,
Because so many of these kids now just spend all day in their room gaming, and I know that they're in conversations with friends and they're playing with friends, and that's great, but like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you learn by being in social environments. We had that whole podcast that we got we did on our First Name Friday, a question from a listener that had really bad social anxiety. Well, that's
yeah,
happening more and more now, and I think it's because some of these things kind of force people into more forms of isolation, and they're just not in those environments as frequently as maybe you and I were growing up, and so it's a little more anxiety
yeah,
provoking for them. My point in saying all that is get out there, you guys, talk to people, find groups, join a group. There's all kinds of things that you can do.
yeah.
So
Well, and we said it before, and we'll kind of end this one on a note where we say it's okay, if that relationship fizzles or dies, or somehow there's a barrier or a block put in between you guys. It's okay, man. Move on, and don't let that be an impediment to you performing your own self-awareness and your own journey.
yeah,
Like, don't let those people hold you back, because the people that you want in your circle are the people who are going to champion whatever you do. And
yeah,
if you go to your circle of friends and you tell them, guys, I'm on this new trajectory and I'm really proud of myself, those you want those guys to be your cheerleaders. If not, join in with you and go. And if they're unable to do that, at least not hold you back from it and make you feel like shit for going a different direction.
exactly. Yeah, and you can cherish the time that you had with those people too, right? You can look back fondly on that stage of your life and the
Yeah,
relationships that you had at that time, but I agree with you, man. You can't let people hold you back if you're setting yourself on a new course.
yeah. And kind of related and unrelated is well, envy is a waste of energy. And when I rewrote that in Roscoe terms, I wrote it as comparison is the thief of joy. And
Yeah.
I've said for a long time, I wrote it in my book. I mean, I've been saying this for a while, dude. Don't be jealous for the things you don't have. Be grateful for the things you do have. You have a roof over your head, you have electricity, and in Arizona, what's more thankful in the summertime than fucking air conditioning, bro? Holy crap.
No
I know two or
doubt.
three people whose AC has gone out this summer, and I'm damn sure not comparing myself to them. I don't want that bad karma coming back on me.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and if I had to put it in CAS's terms, envy leads to comparison and comparison leads to shame. And we did that whole episode
Yeah.
on shame and shame resiliency. And
Yeah.
and we talked about this in several different aspects on the podcast too, man. You
Yeah.
don't want to be in a place where I mean, comparison isn't bad in some sense because it can propel you. It can be an external motivator to help push you towards, getting better at a skill or getting better at your
Yeah.
job, or competition in that sense can be good. But if you get into this constant state of comparison where everybody's better than you, everybody does everything better than you, everybody has more than you and things like that, that takes away your ability to focus on the only thing that you can fucking control, which is you, right? So don't we
Yeah.
talk about, you need to focus on yourself, you need to focus on the things you can control, work on the aspects that you want to change for yourself, but don't play the comparison game, because that can lead to shame, and it's going to put you in a position where you're not going to be very highly functioning, or able to put the
Yeah.
amount of energy and focus that you want to into achieving whatever the goals are that you're trying to strive towards.
Yeah, I think that's good, man. The comparison, the competition piece of it, I think is good, right? It can be healthy. It can be a motivator. It can make you work a little bit harder, regardless of what it is. I look at people sometimes when I'm working out in the gym. I'm like, holy crap, man, that guy's really going hard. Maybe I need to up my game a little bit, or whatever the case may be. But when you start letting that when that becomes the poor me's, I think that's when you're going down a bad road, is when you're starting to go, well, I was wide open on that. I should have got the ball. Why did he get the ball? Why did he get the touchdown? And I just started watching this new series on Netflix. And last year, Peyton Manning put this show together called Quarterbacks, and they followed a few quarterbacks through the 2023 season. Well, he just come out with a new one called Receivers. And one thing that jumped out to me, man, is I'm watching George Kittle and Deebo Samuel out there yucking it up in the huddle, and they don't care who catches the touchdown, man. They're high-fiving and booty slapping regardless. Oh, you got 3 this game? Awesome, dude. We won. That's great. Or you got 2 this game and we lost. Oh, shit. Like, nobody cares, man. It was the team effort. Now, their individual efforts, yeah, there's some competition. Oh, I'm going to run my route better than him, or I'm going to outrun this guy on that one. That's good, healthy competition amongst yourselves. But when it comes right down to it, same team, same fight, bro. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. In comparison too, I would say, just keep in mind too, especially in the landscape of social media today, that most of the shit you see online is bullshit anyways, right? Like it's a false projection. Yeah. It's a false personification of people. Like you like to always say, the people that are taking pictures with their Lamborghini probably rented the Lamborghini for the day, and so, but yeah, just comparisons, not a good thing, because I think it also limits your ability to what you were saying earlier, which is to kind of foster a sense of gratitude in your life, and a sense of gratitude for where you're at and what you have. And that's super important, man, because we're all going to go through tough patches. We're all going to have, goals that we hit, goals that we miss, good times, bad times. And those are the things that'll carry you through. Comparing yourself constantly will not. So, and we want to be resilient. We want to be able to handle that adversity, and comparison isn't going to get us there.
Yeah. Dude, that attitude of gratitude is so huge though, man. And I'm really sad that it took me as long in my life to figure that out as it did. I wish that I would have figured that out really early on, because I think it would have given me a different perspective going into my decision making, and my choices, and the way that I led my family and things like that. I just think that I would have been a more well-rounded person had I figured that piece out a little bit earlier in life. So I'm kind of new to that game. I'm playing a little bit of catch up, but dude, I tell my kids all the time, I even say it to my dogs. I'm like, look around, man. It's like, there are worse places, right? It's not that hard being a dog at the White House. There's worse places than growing up in our house. Like, our house we have a good family. We have a lot of fun. We have everything that we need, and some of the things that we want. And I think we've put it together pretty good. So when I look back on the last 20, 25 years or so, I'm very grateful that things have turned out the way that they are, because I mean, at any given point, one of those decisions goes wrong, or something doesn't play out the way that it did, and I could be in a completely different spot, man. I mean, I've told you this story about me going to work, and I'm not even supposed to be here. Like, I go to work and I have a pinch me moment every time I walk into the building, because I'm literally not even supposed to be there, dude. I'm the only Wizzo within 300 miles of this place at a single seat fighter pilot simulator and building. Like, literally not supposed to be here. So every day I get to go to work, and I'm like, hallelujah, man. I can't believe this shit actually worked.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, brother, I wasn't very good at it when I was younger either. And I wish I would have been more aware of that as well, because I do think it would have been something that would have helped carry me through some of the more adverse times in life. And I think it would have given me a better appreciation of just where I was, and sometimes how far I came. And if people are interested in doing that, I mean, it's really simple to do. You can get up in the morning and one of the first things you can do is think about 3 things that you're grateful for, and it can be as easy as, your health, your spouse, or and your dogs. You know, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
anything crazy. It's
Air
not a,
condition, man.
but just, yeah, focusing on those things that you can be, you know, the fact that you can pay your bills,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that you can put a roof over your family's head and put food on the table. Those are things to be grateful for, because there's people out there that don't. I mean, I Alicia and I talk all the time. Like, one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that all of my kids have been healthy, because
Yeah,
I
that's
could not
huge.
imagine having, you know, a child who had to go through cancer, or losing a child
Yeah.
early to some kind of a disease or something, man. I mean, I have a ton of gratitude for that. So
Well, dude, I mean, Tyler, my oldest, is diabetic. He was diabetic at 8 years old, and we had noticed over months, it was almost like he was shriveling up in front of our eyes, and he wouldn't eat. He had no appetite, and we're like trying to feed him Pedialyte and chicken nuggets, anything that we could get in his system. And so Katie finally took him to the doctor, and his A1C was like way off, and it was immediately evident that he was type 1 diabetic. And all of us kind of breathed this sigh of relief. We're like, thank God it's only diabetes. And I don't mean that in a bad
yeah,
way.
right.
And we're like, this is
Sure.
manageable. Like, what if it was something much,
Yeah.
much worse, So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a little bit of gratitude around something like that. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
That's awesome, dude. So this one, dude, I know you've talked about this a few times. Number 3 was partying is not a purpose. I'll kind of let you take this one. I know that you've hit on this a few times on the show. Partying is not a purpose.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's probably a point in time in all of our lives where maybe, you know, that's one of the ways that we engage socially, or one of the ways that you let off steam. If you're a younger man and that's how you like to let off steam, I would encourage you to find maybe some healthier options, especially if you're, you know, getting blotto every
Yeah,
Friday or Saturday night, because that's
right.
not going to be a healthy habit to carry forward once your metabolism slows down in particular. But yeah, I mean, if your goal is just to find, you know, the best party, or to kind of live in that world and in that dynamic, then we've got some misplaced goals and we've got some work to do, right? You've got to be able to focus on, and I'm not saying don't go enjoy a good party now and then if you want to, like if that's your thing and that's, you
Yeah.
know, the way that you like to interact, go do it, right? But, you know, and especially if you're a single man, like, yeah, dude, go to a party and find somebody to date, and find somebody to ask out on a date. Like, put yourself out there, go after those opportunities, try to build some relationships, learn about relationships with women and things like that by going out and dating people. But
Yeah.
but if partying is your purpose, then we've got issues, right? Because you've got to, at some point at some point in your life, you're going to recognize that it's not going to serve you anymore. I mean, you're basically Chet in Wedding Crashers, right? Living in your mom's basement,
Yeah.
you know, and crashing weddings or funerals at the end of it. But you know, at some point you got to grow up. And what you're going to recognize if you don't do that earlier, if it takes you longer to get there, is there's so many other people that are going to have passed you by, professionally, you know, academically,
Yeah.
in skill sets, in determination, and you know, we've talked about this on the podcast too, dude. When you first start working, like, it takes a while to work yourself up in a company and to work yourself towards maybe a particular position or goal. And if you're fucking all that away because you're out partying all the time and that's all you focus on and that's where all your money's going and stuff like that, well, you're not taking care of yourself financially. You're not taking care of yourself from a health perspective. And you are putting yourself behind a timeline that you could be on to have greater success, and success in a way that really matters down the road, right? Which is like economic security, and
Yeah.
actually being at a place in your 40s where you can afford to go travel and to go do things and to go experience things and pay for your kids' colleges and all of these types of things, right? To put your family ahead. Like, there's so many things. It's so short-sighted in my mind, right? And so anyways, I'll just leave it at that.
No, I think you were going
Okay.
down a really good road there, man. And how many people that we know that are our age or maybe even older who have had zero long-term financial planning in their life thus far, and maybe it was a function of when they were younger that just wasn't important to them. Well, I can tell you that when I was about, I don't know, 25 or so, uh, I was looking ahead 30, 40 years going, man, I don't want to work forever. I don't want to be one of these guys that has to work until the day he dies just to pay the bills. So I sacrificed a little bit of the partying stuff. And it's almost like you came really close to. I don't want it to sound like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth, where you made a comment where you said you're going to be behind, maybe your peers or other people who are doing other things. You're going to be behind, and that's not to go back to the one right before this and say don't compare yourself necessarily to them. However, just realize, man, that you are setting yourself up at a giant disadvantage when you do enter the space a little bit. So, everything in moderation, man. We've all been guilty of going through phases where we partied a little too hard or too much or too long with too many people, and that's okay. Good lessons
I
learned,
have.
right? But don't
Yeah.
lose sight.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you I did a couple of times, and luckily though, Katie and I remember having a conversation very specifically where we were sitting in our living room and going, dude, we can't do this. This is not us. I mean, we got kids, we got careers. Katie's a nurse and I was in the Air Force, and like, we can't do this. We're one slip up, one mistake away from losing it all. It's just not worth it at that point in that
Yeah.
stage of life that we were in. So luckily we had the awareness of where we were at the time, and we made some adjustments. We still went to parties. We still had fun. We just didn't push it up to afterburner every single Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
tweaks like that. If you are the kind of person who's living your week, if you're the kind of person that on other people's socials they refer to you as like Frank the Tank or the hardcore party or whatever, maybe that's not the identity that you want. Maybe you would rather have an identity of, man, he's a great teammate at work, but he can also chug a beer. There's a little bit of a difference in that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I would say too is it kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about in the past about delayed gratification too. So, just as an example, economically, if you're dropping $100 a weekend on at the bar,
Yeah.
when that $100 could be going into a backdoor Roth, or an individual IRA when you're 25, like
Yeah.
you could have over $1 million by not doing that in your 40s versus having none of that money there, in your 40s. So it's just
Yeah.
some of it is just you at some point you've got to start to take a more global look at where you are and where you want to go. And then you've got to start
Yeah.
making some decisions around that.
It's
So
it's very difficult, especially when you're a young guy. It's very difficult to look past right now and this weekend and
yeah.
and have that foresight. But I implore you to sit down and think about, where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be in 30 years? Do you want to be still working on the same crew, or do you want to be, on a cruise with your significant other because you've built that financial freedom and you're able to do some of those things? So I'm encouraging people to take a look at what's really important to you and look, have a little bit of future foresight here and think about what's coming down the road, because what you're doing, if you're that partier, that constant Frank the Tank, that's not sustainable, or you'll be living in a single wide in your mom's backyard probably.
Yeah, well, and the bottom line is too, dude, if you can't take that more global look, then you're going to be that guy in his 40s and 50s who's trying to play catch up and is never going to get there. You know what I mean? And so, and it's and you're absolutely right. I mean, when you're younger, the time horizon for 65 or whatever that number is so far away.
It's way
that
the
you
fuck
don't
out
think
there,
about
man.
it. But
Yeah.
but like take advice from some guys that are older and have gone down that road, like seriously. I mean, if you're smart, you'll listen because it makes a huge difference, and it'll make a huge difference in your ability to retire comfortably down the road and to take you have to get your house in order at some point, and the earlier you do it, the better off you're going to be down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. Sit down and think about it. Do the math. Like, sit down and put some pen to paper. So that kind of rolls a little bit nicely into number 4. And number 4 was, a career is not an identity. And I know that we've both talked about this a lot on here. I mean, for us, that we got a new name, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it was expected to be another identity. But what I think the the end of the conversation came when you threw out there is like, look, dude, when you're living in your values, it doesn't matter. You can be Cass at work and then Jason at home. And if your values are solid and you're living in those values on both ends, it doesn't matter. So don't get wrapped up in that alter ego when you go strap it on every day at work. uh that's not who you are. Like, who you are is you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a brother, you're a son. That's who you are. This other shit is what you do, and that's very different.
Yeah, and that's a huge distinction, right? And we've talked about this on the podcast too. So, I mean, it was so easy, especially in our career field, for guys to get completely have their identity wrapped up in being a fighter pilot, right? Because it's a
Yep.
lot of it's very all consuming. But you are so much more than that. And somebody who's emotional intelligent too, we've talked about emotional intelligence on the podcast, has the ability to adjust themselves, their behavior, their responses, how they show up to different environments, right? And so, you know, obviously you may need to show up a little bit differently at work than maybe you do at home or in relationships that you value and things of that nature. But if you're walking in your value system, like you said, you're going to make good decisions. You're going to be strong on those values. And the big deal, the big thing is you don't want your identity to get consumed by that, because if your identity is consumed by what you do, when that ends, that transition for you, and it's going to end one
Yeah.
way or the other.
Even Tom Brady had
whether
to hang
it's
him up.
well, and it could be maybe you're just a high level manager or something in a business, and that's the identity you run with, and then you get fired. So does that mean you're a shitty person or you're a huge failure or anything like that? No, that's not who you are. It's just what you did. It's just a job. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, and we've lost friends, I think, in some parts, in some respects to that, that have gone down some very
Yeah.
bad roads and into some really dark places, because once that identity that they had built around themselves got stripped away because it wasn't their true self, they didn't know what to do with
Yeah.
themselves. And so,
Kind of have this
they
what the
medicated
fuck
with
do I do kind
alcohol,
of. Yeah.
or they self-medicated with alcohol, and, couldn't overcome it. And they didn't have the same quote unquote stature that they thought that they should, going into the civilian world or whatever. And none of that shit matters, man. Like you said, what matters is,
Yeah.
your family, the relationships that you build, the friends that you have, how good of a friend you can be, a husband you can be, a father you can be. Those are the key
Yeah.
qualities. So it's cool to be badass at something. It's cool to be the big dog, but don't let it become your identity, because it invariably will change you as a person, and it's going to steer you away from your values.
Well, I think for people like us in the career fields that we chose, and David's probably going to experience some of this, but when you are, I know Tyler's going to experience this in the police, but when you are immersed in a culture so deeply, I mean, it's almost inevitable that you're going to start to associate that. And younger people out there, just again, please listen to me now and hear me later, kind of thing. I remember exactly when it happened for me, when I started to view the Air Force as a job rather than a lifestyle. And I had what, 6 years left to go until I could retire. And I mean, it was a drastic change in the way I carried myself day to day. And I remember telling you included, I remember telling like my last 4 commanders and going, look, dude, I'll give you 100%. You'll get 100% of 100% required. If I need to be here for 15 hours to teach this chucklehead how to drop bombs and kill people, then that's what you can expect. But if I'm not on the schedule tomorrow, I got an iPhone and you can call me. And you know how many times I was called in all those years? 0.
Yeah.
Not one person. I was not that important that somebody had to red ball me into the squadron to fix something, because it'll be there tomorrow, man. And once I got to that level, dude, I was so much happier. Like, life just kind of fell into place at that point when I disassociated Roscoe and Paul. When I realized that I don't have to be this persona, that I'm a husband to Katie, I'm a dad to 3 boys, and I have this job that I go to for X amount of hours a week. When I got to that point, dude, like, my happiness bubble grew so big.
Yeah, and that's awesome, dude. And that's exactly why you need to separate those things. Because I can tell you the times in my career where maybe the fighter pilot piece or the weapons officer piece became more of, you know, Cass Cooper than Jason Cooper. I wasn't a very
Mm.
fucking nice person.
Yeah,
I was a dick, and I
was.
could be a
What are you
dick.
talking about?
And yeah, right. But that also prevented me from being a really good instructor at times, and really being able to get down to the nitty gritty with people and figuring out what was really going on for them when they were
Yeah.
struggling and things like that, instead of just assuming that they fucking sucked and they couldn't do it and off with you, type of a thing. So
Well, what's really sad, man, is you and I both, we can look back on those periods of our life and you know, we lost something there. Like we lost opportunities to really make an impact on a person because maybe we
yep,
were dicks to people, or
yep,
maybe we had this shield up, or whatever it was. Maybe I put my Superman cape on when I walked through the door that morning and nobody fucking wanted to talk to me because I was a grumpy motherfucker. And looking
yeah,
back on it, that would have probably been something I would have liked to have had back, is some of those interactions that I had with those people.
yeah, for sure. Or the relationships that you
Well,
could have built. So anyways,
but you know what? Not living in the past. Hopefully, a better person than I was then. And for those people who who I knew back then, I've said it before on the podcast. I apologize. I owe a lot of people phone calls, and if you're ever in Phoenix, give me a call. We'll have a beer and we'll talk about it.
yeah, no doubt.
The next one was embrace, and I'll just go right off the bat. I don't like the way this is written, but let's talk about it. Either embrace change or embrace pain. And I don't like the way that's written. I kind of know what he's talking about, or kind of the point that he's trying to make, but I don't like the words that he
Yeah,
used. And let me see if I can reword this. And this is, we like Jim Rohn around here. And because change can be painful too. And that was one of the things that stuck out to me, the way that he wrote that. So here's a Jim Rohn quote. And he says, "We all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret." And I like that one a little bit better than the one we just read off of this very nebulous list that doesn't even have an author's name on it. But I think that that's probably closer to accurate. You're when you get to a later stage in life, maybe, or maybe it's an isolated event that you just didn't have the self-discipline to do the things required to win at that event, and then you look back on it and you have regrets. And that's why I say leave it on the field, man. Like like when Katie and I went on this vacation, we knew going into it, we're going to need to sleep for like 3 days when we come home because we're going to leave it on the field. And I can tell you with 100% certainty, dude, I have no regrets on that
yeah.
vacation. We gave it
Yeah, well,
everything we had.
I think a good analogy that ties back to what we were talking about too, if you want to talk about discipline and regret, is when we were talking about the partying as a purpose thing, and the getting serious about your long-term financial stability and economic growth when you're younger, right? Because that takes discipline. That takes discipline to
Yeah.
take. It's hard to invest money when you don't have a lot of money. It's hard to
Yep.
invest. It's hard not to go to a party when you're in your 20s and it's fun to go party, right? But if you don't, then when you're 45 and you got a big old goose egg in the bank account, and now that horizon timeline's much further out, you're going to have a ton of fucking regret
Yeah.
that you weren't more disciplined, that you weren't smarter about things, that you didn't listen to the Be One Change One podcast, and that you called Roscoe and CAS a whole bunch of shit while you were driving down the road listening to this fucking podcast. So,
Yeah. We're stupid. We don't know what we're talking about.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, we have no idea what we're talking
Yeah.
about. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great way to summarize it, because I agree with you too, man. Change oftentimes is really fucking painful.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
going
That's why
through,
I didn't like that.
dude,
Yeah.
if you're listening to us and you're doing self-inspection and you're being honest with yourself about some things, that's a fucking hard process. That's not a fun
Yeah.
process, right? And then to go out and do the work to make those changes, not a fun. That is a kick in the junk
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
daily, until you start to get some
Well,
wins and you start to see some changes, and then you start to see
yeah.
the effects that it has. But
Yeah.
again, that's
Yeah.
discipline versus regret, right? So again, for our younger listeners or even older listeners, maybe that haven't done this work, if you're listening to the podcast and you're just you like it and it's fun and it's great and you take a little tidbit away here or there, but you haven't taken the time to define your personal values or to start working on those self-inspection pieces to really understand what you're about, then dude, that's the discipline versus regret piece right there. Like at some
Yep.
point, it's all gonna it catches up with you at some point, whether you want it to or not. So
Yeah.
you can
Well,
get
you know,
serious about it now, or you can
with
fucking
that,
deal with it later.
yeah, with that discipline, you know, you could probably even add in consistency on there too. And, you know, the example we've used is, you know, the finances is an easy example. We've talked about it when we talked boundaries with Alicia. We were talking about the discipline that you have to do some of these things, and go back to number one on this list where we're talking about friendships and relationships, you know, and you have to
Yeah.
be disciplined in the actions that you're taking and know that that has consequences, and not all of them are going to be
Mm-hmm.
roses. You know, some of them are
It
going
can
to
be
suck.
very
You
uncomfortable.
know,
Yeah.
if you're starting a new physical
Yeah, it
fitness
can be very
program, you know,
uncomfortable.
that's not going to come without pain. And you're going to have to stick with it and be disciplined with it, and have that consistency over a long period of time to be able to see the results of it. So, you know, there's a lot of hidden nuance in both of those statements. And they're you know, the statement embrace change or embrace
Yeah,
pain.
absolutely.
Uh,
But
yeah,
yeah,
go
and
ahead,
I
dude.
think what he's getting at with that statement is just right. Like, oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second. So if I was speaking
Oh
over
yeah,
you, I apologize.
nope, go ahead.
I think what he's trying to get at with that embrace change or embrace pain is kind of what we're getting after, right? If you can be disciplined now and make the changes required, then it's going to be a lot less painful down the road.
Yeah,
If you can understand and recognize that change needs to be made, and then you can move towards that change, that's going to be more beneficial than putting it off or not accepting the fact that things need to change. And then that process down the road, when it does have to change, is going to be very painful, right? So, you know, we've talked about
yeah,
this on the
100%,
podcast
man.
with
Yep.
older older men who, you know, don't take care of their health, maybe haven't exercised, drank a bunch, whatever, and now they're in their 50s and they're trying to make that change now, and their
It
body's like,
sucks.
fuck you, son. Right?
Yeah,
you've got all these
yeah,
issues. Yeah, right. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
so yeah.
Well, you
Again,
know, I've
man,
said it on
the
here
earlier
before.
you get your
You
fucking house in order, the better off you're going to be down the road.
That's right. You pay for your health now, or you pay for it later. That's really what it comes down to. But, you know, the same thing can be said for finances. It could be said for your relationships. It could be said for just about any, you know, throw a category out there that we've talked about, and you could say, if you invest early on in that category, or whatever it is, then the payoff down the road is going to be a lot less painful than if you started late. You know, and we go through this with our kids sometimes, man, and especially that transition from high school into manhood, or young man or young womanhood. It's very difficult for a young person to make that transition. And, you know, we try to nudge and we try to push and we try to advise, but ultimately they have to make the decisions. And my driving force behind not giving up on them a lot of times is, dude, I don't want you to get to be 28 or 30 years old and then look back and go, what the fuck did I just do for 12 years of my life? Like, you don't want that regret, man. You don't
Yeah.
want to look back on it. You would much rather put in some work now and have that pay off in 10 years, rather than have fun for 10 years. And I'll use the word fun in air quotes, but do all that, you know, party, rage, and have no cares, live fast, die young, leave a good looking corpse kind of attitude for 10 years, and then look back on it and go, what the fuck did I just do for a decade, man? No, put the time in now, right? Have the self discipline now, and the payoff down the road is going to be much.
Well said, brother.
All right. Getting towards the end here. Number 6, complacency is contagious. And I 100% agree with that. I will also put a comma, and winning is contagious. So it goes both ways, right? And I think this comes back to your circle and the people you surround yourself with and the goals that you set and the people that you let in on those goals, right? So if you are around a bunch of people who sit around and eat ho-hos and bonbons all night, well, guess what? You're probably going to end up being the kind of person that eats ho-hos and bonbons. If you're the kind of person that surrounds himself with guys who are motivated, who share with each other, who are vulnerable, who have common mindsets and goals, well, guess what? That's contagious too. So it all kind of comes back to the circle of your people.
Yeah, I agree with you. And complacency can be contagious. So, you know, you can't like I don't know, man. I don't think you're ever going to be successful at making the change or achieving the things that you want to in life if you're going to accept complacency in parts of your life, because it's going to bleed over, right? If you can give yourself a pass on a portion of your life or on things that are over here, but then you try to work really hard over here, that, it's going to, at some point, it's going to bleed over. That mindset of complacency, that I can put it off for till tomorrow or
Yeah.
whatever it is for you. It's eventually gonna bleed over into all the other aspects of your life. So, um, and I couldn't agree with you more. Winning is contagious as well, right? When you start to do the work and you start to get the small wins and they start to pile up, man, that's motivating. And that's
Yeah.
the other thing with complacency too, is there's no motivation to be found in complacency, right? There's no moving
Yeah.
forward. If you're complacent, where are you? You're stagnant. You're going to stay exactly where the fuck you are. And what do we talk about when it comes to creating opportunities? You got to get outside of your comfort zone. Well, if you're complacent, you're not getting outside your fucking comfort zone. You're not putting yourself out there, and you're not allowing yourself the chance to create opportunities for yourself, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I think he's getting at with complacency is contagious.
No, I 100% agree, man. And that conversation that we've had about Stan and Jack, your empathetic side and your apathetic side, or your bitch voice and your boss voice, however you want to break that down. The complacent side is your empathetic side. It's your Stan voice. It's the voice that's trying to, it's full of excuses of why you shouldn't or don't need to do a particular thing or be a certain way, versus your other side, the winning side, the champion side, the Jack side. That's the side that says, well, I'll be damned. Like, we're going to have the self-discipline to do this, and we're going to stick to it. And we're going to adjust and pivot as needed, but we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep driving that direction with no excuses. And I love the way that you said, yes, contagion or complacency is contagious, but winning, man, like when other people see you winning, when other people see your happiness bubble grow, when they see the way that you walk into a room and you glow and your head is up and your chest is out, and they know that you've been doing the work because maybe you separated yourself from them for a little bit to focus on you, and I've started in this show, but guess what? Other people see that shit, man. And then they'll call me up and they'll be like, hey man, I just got a gym membership. Hallelujah, brother. Your journey just started. This is awesome. And go back to this, the envy piece of it and the comparison piece of it. That person who's just starting doesn't need to compare himself to a guy who's 3-4 years into this or a lifetime into this, because then you'll get discouraged. You're on your journey, man. And we just saw this recently with an event that we did where one person is not at the same level as the other person. And that's okay. Everybody's got to start somewhere. What did I say? I think it was on the last show. I said, in order to get where you're going, you have to know where you are right now and put that stake in the ground, man. And you know what? Good test. I know where I'm at right now. I tested myself hard this weekend. I know where I'm at and I know what I need to do to get to where I want to be. And now I can set my program, I can set my goals and my milestones and my plan in place and then start to execute that plan.
It's definitely how we can gauge ourselves. And, just to be honest too, like, even if you're a highly motivated person, like, it's hard for all of us to fight complacency at times. Like, we all have to. I mean, I think you mentioned it on a previous podcast just 1 or 2 ago. You were talking about, dude, when we were cavemen, like, our bodies are hardwired to conserve energy. They're hardwired to be lazy. And
That's
so
right.
you have to fight that stuff. You have to fight those things, right? And we all do. Even in the jobs that you and I have now, it would be really easy to become complacent. But take a little personal pride in yourself and how you show up. Take a little personal pride in, your knowledge at work or whatever that may look like for you. And like you were saying, man, the bottom line is just continue to move the ball forward. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to create opportunity. That's how we're going to move. That's how we're going to make shit happen.
I can't wait to have Doc John back on, and I mean, listeners, he's going to be a regular. So if you got specific questions for Doc John, fire them away, because I already have a list, and I think that somewhere in your brain there's a switch, and that switch gets flipped when you're able to make yourself do shit that you don't want to do necessarily, or do one more of something. And I just had this conversation with a guy recently where he says, Roscoe, where you have that ability to push yourself through that threshold, that pain threshold, or that, 165 beats per minute threshold, and you can push through that and get a little bit more. You can squeeze just a little bit more out of that, maybe do one more rep or run one more mile or whatever it is. He says, I don't have that. And I was like, that's okay, dude. It's okay, but we can get you there, right? All you have to do is keep bumping up against that threshold, and every now and then we'll cross it, and you'll figure out what that feels like, and you'll be proud of yourself, and that pride will help motivate you the next time, because that's a win, right? And that makes you feel good, and that dopamine release that you get, you start chasing that a little bit more and a little bit more, and that leads to self-discipline, that leads to intrinsic motivation, all these things that we like to talk about.
Yeah, well, and ultimately it leads to change.
Yeah, well, and that's the ultimate goal, right? Cool, dude. Two more. Number 7, mistakes are mandatory. And I almost like reworded this one too, or you could reword it to mistakes are mandatory. I would like to say mistakes are expected. I don't know if mandatory is more of an absolute to me. Mistakes are expected. We say this, it's like every episode we say, guys, you're going to fuck this up. We have fucked this up. We fuck it up daily. There's an interaction or a thought process or something happens to where we screw this up. You're going to make mistakes, man. You're potentially going to make a bad decision, or you're not going to have the right plan in place and have the experience to be able to call that smart audible or whatever it may be. So yeah, you're going to make mistakes. And as long as you're aware of that and know that that's part of the process, then you rewind just a little bit, you analyze it, and you pivot, and you make a change, and you apply the lessons learned from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not like how this was written at all, because mistakes aren't mandatory. And like, that's a total cop out to me. And I think my fear in saying something like mistakes are mandatory is people go, oh, well, it was just a mistake. I'm going to make them anyways. So I don't need to worry about it, or I don't need to work harder, or I don't need to fix this, or right. So but again, just like you're saying, I think what he's getting at is you're going to fail, and that's okay. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is one of our greatest teachers. Failure gives you an opportunity to take lessons learned, adapt, pivot, and be flexible. It teaches you flexibility. It teaches you resiliency, how to be adaptable. And don't be afraid of failure, because I think one of the things that keeps people from seizing opportunities sometimes in their life is they're so worried about what happens if I don't. What happens if I'm not successful? What happens if it doesn't turn out the way I want it to? What happens if, X, Y, or Z, and they never fucking do it, right? They never step out. They never get in the arena, get dirty, and figure it the fuck out. So that's just one of those things that you got to do, man. And that's just part of being human. It's part of being successful. It's part of being driven and goal-oriented. Is, you're going to fail at times. That's okay. It goes back to the identity thing. Just because you fail at something doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't define who you are. It just means, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's out of our control. Sometimes there's other things that come up that we didn't expect. That drive us down a road that leads to a failure. But what it is it's a growth opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to take the lessons learned, to figure out what we need to fix for next time. Maybe aspects of our own self or skills that we need to develop so that we can be successful next time, and then move forward, push out, and go after it, right? It just don't let it hold you back.
Well, I mean, and this happens all the time, right? You're like, mistakes, they happen all the time. They happen every day. I mean, I had one at work just very recently where we're running this really complex mission, and I read the contracts card, and it got to that point in the sortie, and dude, I literally just forgot. I forgot that I was supposed to do this thing or say this code word or whatever. And it actually had a fairly significant impact on the mission. And so, I hollered at the IP on the radio. I'm like, dude, I completely fucked that up. My bad, dude. Do you want to stop and we'll run this back real quick? He goes, no. We'll fight what we see. And that's okay. But holy shit, man. I mean, something as simple as that. I mean, I just forgot. My mind was somewhere else in the mission, and I should have written it more bold on my piece of paper, but I didn't. Today, I sent you and Francis a text today, a picture of my leg with rope burns all up it. No new lessons. I did rope climbs without long socks on. So guess what? Now I got this giant rope burn on my shin. it was a mistake. I thought, oh, well, I'm only going to do like 8 rope climbs. It's probably not going to be that bad. Nope. That was a mistake. I screwed that up. So
Yep. High
learn from
socks is
that
high
one,
motivation.
hopefully. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Right on.
Last one, man. Empathy is clarity. And I really struggled with getting my mind around this one. So I was hoping that your giant cranium could help shed some light and put this in like Roscoe speak. What does it mean when he says empathy is clarity?
Well, what do you think? What do you think it meant, Roscoe?
Well, I was unable to get my mind around it, so I cheated and went and read some articles and tried to figure it out. So I do have something that I can fall back
so
on.
I mean, it goes back to like a lot of the. Sorry if there's a long pause. I think I'm freezing up on my side because the Wi-Fi sucks.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep, I got
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So empathy is clarity, right? Yeah, being able to be empathetic, it kind of goes back to the conversations that we've had around emotional intelligence, right? So being able to understand, being able to be empathetic, understand a person's point of view, even if you disagree with it, potentially, but to be able to understand where they're coming from, right? That's going to bring clarity. Being empathetic with yourself, even, it's going to bring clarity to so many aspects of day-to-day life and what you do and how you manage relationships, and how you show up. If you're a boss, being able to understand, what's going on at a deeper level for the people that may work for you may give you a ton of clarity about, who's got skills that are really good in one area, maybe how to move people around to make the team stronger, how to dole out assignments so that it plays to people's strengths versus weaknesses. There's a ton of stuff. There's a ton of clarity that you get from, I think, being able to build skills around empathy. How you show up in your relationships, your personal relationships with your wife or your kids or your friends. So that's kind of what I think he's getting at after it.
Yeah. And I looked up a couple of things and wrote a couple of notes here. And excuse me, one of the things that I wrote down was empathy bridges the gap between professional expectations and personal human experiences. So I took that to mean, like, if I can put myself in your shoes, have a little bit of empathy, right? And know where you're at, know where you're coming from, and get to know you as a person and be genuinely invested in who you are. Like at the core, who is Jason Cooper, right? And that way, when I'm communicating to you, when I'm passing information, or when I'm giving direction or whatever it may be, then that helps me be more clear and put it into terms that you can understand and that are going to resonate with you. And I think we got a sense of this. We got a lot of reps at this just by being instructors, where you have to know that student. Like you have to communicate to that student on a way that he can learn. And not all students are like, if you have a classroom full of people, full of 20 people, there's potentially 20 different learning styles in there. And you have to get down to that individual level and be very clear and manage those expectations. And the empathy that you use will help you get there.
Yeah. And I think on the flip side of that is, understanding yourself too. So, hey, maybe I'm not really good at this. And so this is something that I need to ask for help around, or this is something that I need to seek some mentorship around, or I need to get some advice around, right? Knowing your own strengths, weaknesses, capabilities, and then, not saying no to things because you're worried that you can't manage it necessarily, but understanding that, you may need to reach out to get help. That's kind of the flip side of it too, to reflect it back to yourself. That can give you clarity around, hey, these are the things that I need to do. Here's some things that I have weaknesses in that I need to work on in order to be able to do this to the best of my ability, kind of thing.
And you ready for it? Here comes this big old knot again. That's a little bit of that humility shit mixed in with some of that knowing yourself shit.
Oh yeah.
It all ties together, man. That big old knot.
Little self-inspection.
So, yeah. Holy crap, man.
It does.
It's like a broken record. Well, dude, I mean, for just a screen grab meme off of social media, that ended up being a pretty deep episode, man. We got down into some nuts and bolts on stuff.
Yeah. That was good, man. Thanks for finding that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I get bombarded with shit like that. And then other times it's, I don't know, kitty videos or whatever. But anyways, dude, be safe coming back from St. Louis. And We'll see you on this side.
I will.
Are you there? You froze again.
I just lost. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. I just for the listeners out there, you guys, just stay the course. Like, this stuff's hard. Be patient with yourself, but stay the course. Do the work. And you'll get there. Like, just keep applying some of the things that we talk about. Try to be introspective. Try to stay in your values, and it'll eventually, with practice, all come together.
Love it. I could pile on for days, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say be the one.
Be the change.
Thanks for flying with the Be One Change One podcast. If you got something out of this show, then be the one and share it in your circles of influence.
You can be our wingman through our website at www.be1change1.com. That's B and the number 1, change and the number 1.com.
We invite you to be the one and join our fighter squadron on social media at Be1Change1 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow us at Paul Roscoe White on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as Roscoe's website, www.paulroscoewhite.com.
You can email us from the website, and please leave comments, share, and ask questions, or leave ideas of things you would like to discuss on future podcasts. Most importantly, be the one that helps us win the algorithm by leaving a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
Thanks for joining. Until next time, be the one.